Okay, we are live. ¿Qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with this evening's live stream, 7:40 p.m. It is the 16th of November. It is true. It's true that it is 2. And as usual, we'll be looking at some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press here today in Spain, or over the weekend, let's say. Also, some comments that have been left on the channel in recent times by you guys, the viewers of these videos. And we'll go into the chat section and see what's happening there. Around the 20-minute mark, we'll head into the live chat section and say g'day to the people that are watching live this evening. Now, we'll get straight into the news and the big story over the weekend, the storm that has been pounding different parts of the country. Last week it was the Canary Islands. Over the weekend it was Andalusia. As we can see here, Andalusia slowly returning to normality after Storm Claudia triggers 900 incidents. Andalusia is returning to normal this Sunday after Storm Claudia swept through the region, generating more than 900 emergency incidents according to Emergencias 112. The worst affected areas were Huelva and its mining basin, where the Santa Maria ravine in Nerva overflowed. Most incidents involved flooded homes, garages, shops, roads and drainage problems, as well as fallen trees and branches. On Saturday, Huelva experienced the most serious disruption, with torrential rain reaching 90 litres per square metre at times, forcing the evacuation of the city's bus station. Mayor Pilar Miranda said rainfall levels were far higher than forecast, prompting a reinforced response operation. In Seville province, emergency services rescued several people trapped in vehicles in flooded areas. Although Andalusia now has no weather warnings in place, Storm Claudia remains stationary to the northwest of the peninsula and is expected to bring further heavy rain to parts of Spain. So the storm that many parts of the country have been dealing with over the last few days, as I said last week, the end of last week, it was the Canary Islands. And of course, on Saturday, it was Andalusia's turn to get battered by this storm. Huelva, as we saw there, the most affected province. Again, the typical problems, flooding, because it's very difficult to drain that much water in such a short amount of time. And of course, the drainage systems cannot cope. But the fortunate thing about this was that I don't think there were any serious injuries. I don't think any lives were lost. So we'll see if the storm passes over the rest of the country and doesn't cause too much more damage. Of course, Storm Claudia. A nasty one it has been. Second piece of news here now, and holiday let owners in the Canary Islands are protesting new tourism housing law. Holiday let owners in the Canaries are fiercely opposing a new regulating short-term rentals. New law regulating short-term rentals. The Sustainable Regulation of Tourist Housing Act, approved by the Regional Parliament on the 12th of November, is the archipelago's first comprehensive framework to govern the nearly 70,000 holiday rentals operating under a decade-old, loosely defined decree. Under the new rules due to come into force in the coming days, 90% of homes must be allowed to allocated to residential use, leaving only 10% available for tourist letting. Each of the 88 municipalities will set its own criteria, deciding where and how many licenses may be granted. Owners argue the law favours large tourism groups and threatens small investors. Some municipalities are introducing stringent requirements, such as demanding that owners register as self-employed or provide independent access to holiday-let properties. Many fear they will no longer be able to operate legally or even use their own homes occasionally. So another government in Spain, this time the Canary Island government, trying to solve the housing crisis that is sweeping different parts of the country. The Canary Islands, of course, one of the areas that is hit hard by the housing crisis. Local people struggling to find accommodation in some of the on some of the Canary Islands, I should say, in some of the cities there. And of course, the government desperate to solve the problem or alleviate the problem. And this is what they come up with. As we saw there, 90% of homes in the Canaries need to be dedicated or have to be dedicated or must be dedicated to residential use and only 10% to holiday lets. But the owners of holiday lets not happy about this and are kicking up a bit of a fuss. And the last piece of news here, a familiar face or a familiar name back in the news, and it is this person here, Luis Rubiales. You might remember him. His uncle has been arrested after throwing eggs at Rubiales during a book launch. Luis Rubiales' book presentation in central Madrid descended into chaos when an attacker hurled eggs at the former Spanish Football Federation president. Rubiales was answering questions on stage when the egg first struck near him. He stood up to avoid a second, but it exploded against his back. A third followed before security intervened. Rubiales attempted to confront the assailant, who was quickly restrained. To his surprise, the attacker was identified as his own uncle, Luis Rubén Rubiales, the brother of Rubiales' father, and of Juan Rubiales, the uncle who previously denounced him to prosecutors. Family tensions, long simmering over internal disputes and allegations of betrayal within the Federation, appear to have erupted publicly. In his book, Matar a Rubiales or Kill Rubiales, he accuses politicians, including Pedro Sánchez and Yolanda Díaz, of exploiting the KISS scandal for political gain, arguing he was used as a distraction during debates on amnesty. So, Luis Rubiales, as I said, you might remember Mr. Rubiales from a few years ago now when Spain's women's football team won the World Cup in Sydney, Australia. And of course, Mr. Rubiales planted a kiss bang smack on one of the players' lips. And of course, that set off a scandal here in Spain. Mr. Rubiales terminated from his contract, and now he has a book. And this, I don't know whether it was a publicity stunt or not. You could probably argue that it was. This is gaining attention that it probably wouldn't have gained otherwise. I mean, who wants to read this book? Let's be honest about that. Mr. Rubiales' book about his experiences, I reckon I'll give that one a miss. But publicity stunt, I would say, my personal opinion, of course, I would say that this has been. Throwing eggs, making a scene, and of course reaching headlines around the world, because let's be honest about this, Mr. Rubiales is famous internationally because that kiss didn't just stay in Spain. It went global. It did indeed. Now we'll go and have a look at some comments that have been left on the channel in recent times by viewers. We'll start with this one here from Blu-ray Fan, aka Hugh. Avoided the worst of the weather down here, Stu, near Torrevieja on the Orihuela Costa the last few days. Had a small calima. Some sand blew in Thursday, Friday, but normal service will resume by Sunday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, is that? And sun and 23 degrees forecast. The hot semi-arid microclimate down here in southeastern Spain is marvelous. Saludos, Hugh. Thanks, Hugh, for the comment. Yes, I imagine that the weather in that part of Spain, the Orihuela Costa, Torrevieja, very, very popular with British foreign nationals that are coming over here to, whether they have a holiday home there or whether they're residing long term. It's a very popular place because of the weather. Let's be honest about that, right, Hugh? And also the other things that the area has to offer. For example, the food and drink, which would also be, I imagine, pretty good down there. I think there's quite a few YouTubers putting out content from that part of Spain, so you can always check out what's happening in that part of the world. And fortunately, the storm not too bad in the Alicante region, because, again, that's one of the areas here in Spain that is hardest hit by a lot of storms throughout the year. Alicante, Valencia, Murcia. So this time missing the brunt of Storm Claudia. Thanks for the comment. Another one here from Penros. I was in Gran Canaria once when the biggest storm in 6 years hit and was amazed to see everything shut down and chaos on the roads for what was just a bit of heavy rain. It reminded me of England with an inch of snow. Thanks, Ben Ross, for the comment. I imagine the reason that things do get a little bit chaotic when a storm rolls through, a heavy storm like this one here, is because people are not used to it, especially when it comes to driving and things like that. They don't want to take the risk. So I think we saw last week that schools were cancelled on Thursday, maybe Friday. Not sure of the exact days on some parts of the Canaries. And they don't want to take risks, and especially after what happened in Valencia last year. A lot of politicians and these warning services are extra cautious about putting the warnings out and making sure that people are safe and sound, trying to avoid a repeat of what happened last year. Nobody, I don't think, is expecting a repeat of what happened last year, but better to be safe than sorry, I think, is the philosophy of many people in charge of these services here in Spain. So thanks, Ben Ross, for the comment. And when it snows here as well, it's also very chaotic because we're not used to it. When it happens, it catches us off guard. This is not Sweden. This is not Finland. This is not Norway or parts of Germany, which suffer quite heavy snow. I was watching a football game the other day, or a soccer game in Canada. They were playing with this much snow on the pitch. Unbelievable, but used to it, which is what we are not here. Or rain. Anacardo, will any tourists be asking for refunds on their vacations because of bad weather and they couldn't enjoy the sunshine they were supposed to get? Don't know if that's possible. Can you ask for a refund because your trip to Spain was washed out? I don't know. I don't think so. It's bad luck, I imagine, the majority of the times. Maybe you've got some type of insurance that will protect you against this, but I don't think so. I think you take the risk when you book your holidays that the weather's going to be either good at this time of the year or the possible storm could hit the country, because let's be honest, it is the time of the year for storms. Storms in many parts of the country, the autumn and spring months. So when you're going to find them, not necessarily in December, January or February, or the summer months either, but the rest of the year, yes, you can get storms. So that's the risk you take. One here from Terry. Thanks for your up-to-date news, Stuart. I find Spain very admin heavy. I am currently trying to bring an unwanted cat back to UK to live with us. No longer I as simple as just having all relevant documents now. Hopefully our cat will be able to resettle back with us in Spain if we can ever meet the financial criteria for visas to live in Spain. Brexit sucks. I have lived in Spain before and have owned a holiday home for 19 years. Thanks, Terry. I imagine that is the case, that if you want to bring pets or take pets from Spain to the UK, I imagine that now there is more paperwork than there would have been before. I'm not in that situation, so I don't know for sure, but I imagine people watching this right now will be able to tell me that things have changed, or maybe maybe there's just, as you said, there's more bureaucracy in play. I don't know. But of course, when you become a third country, that's what happens. The European Union, if you want to skip over from Madrid here to Lisbon in Portugal, cross the border, no problems. Take the dog everywhere, as long as you've got the documentation, just in case, to show that the animal has had all of its vaccines and things like that, is up to date with all of that type of stuff, no problems. But third countries, try taking a dog or a cat to Australia, then you'll know what it's all about. But thanks, Terry, for the comment there. Thank you. And another one here from Raymond. Hi, Stu, in Chile, where my wife is from, there's an expression, todo el precio de huevos. Essentially, it means that everything is very cheap, premised on the low cost of eggs. It appears that this expression would not be applicable to Spain these days. Raymond, thank you very much for the comment. We know that Spain is in the grip of the avian flu, the gripe aviar, as they call it. A lot of these poultry farms around the country are taking extra precautions to try to keep the chickens and ducks and things like that safe from this virus. And a big outbreak could be tragic for the industry, especially with Christmas coming up. That's what people are worried about. And also the cost of rising chicken prices, or, if you like a duck's leg every now and again, you're probably going to have to pay more. And also eggs as well. Eggs have gone up, I think I was reading the other day, over 20% just this year already. So put the avian flu into the mix, and we could be paying even more. The price of the eggs that I buy hasn't really gone up. €1.80 for 6. So what's that? A dozen, whatever the price would be. But I don't think it is, double the price. I don't think it's $3.60 for a dozen eggs. You probably get them for $3.20 or something like that. So, yeah, if you like to have an egg for your dinner or your breakfast or your lunch, you're paying more. Thanks, Raymond, for that. And the final one here from Doug. Enjoy your videos, especially the food reviews. I am in England and noted that you recently said how relaxed it was in Spain with a slower pace of living. More recently, you reported that average wages between Spain and the rest of Europe were considerably lower. I wonder if there may be a connection between the two. Doug, thanks for the comment, and you might be right there. There could be a connection between the two. Spain's slower pace of life maybe leads to lower productivity. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this type of thing, and it could also be one of the reasons for the lower salaries here in Spain. I think we saw the other day that the gap between Spanish salaries and other European countries is widening. In other countries, they seem to be going up, whereas here in Spain, that is not the case. So, for wage earners here, not the best country to be earning a salary. Let's be honest about that. But not too many people are complaining, or at least they don't hit the streets complaining about this. In private, yes, they're going to tell you that they're fed up with the low salaries and the high cost of living, but they don't seem to take to the streets. Now, we're going to go into the live chat, check out what is happening there, see what's bubbling away in the live chat. I need to highlight the background photo, which is in front of you at the moment. This photo was sent in by Brent, who was doing the Camino de Santiago and through Extremadura, I think. And this is a Roman bridge in the city of Mérida, which Brent tells me is the longest remaining Roman bridge anywhere in the world, I think. I think that was exactly what he said. So a nice photo here. We've got the tree in the foreground here, the leaves, and that nice Roman bridge going over the river there. I can't think of the name of the river that goes through Mérida at the moment, but it could be the Tagus River maybe? I'm not sure. If it is that, let me know. If it isn't, also let me know what the river is. It could be the Tagus. I've gone through Mérida on numerous occasions, but I can't remember the name of the river, but it could be the Tagus River. It heads that way. So I imagine it's either the Tagus or a tributary of the Tagus. So thank you very much for the picture there. Now we're going to go into the chat section, but before I get to the chat, if you want to see your picture on the backdrop, like Brett has done here. Is it Brett or Brent? Sorry, Brent has done. spainspeaks@gmail.com is the email address. Feel free to send your pictures through to that email address, or anything else that you want to send my way. If you've got some information that you think would be useful to the channel, for the broader audience that is, please let us, that is the email address to send it through to. Also, I'm going to put the like icon on the screen. If you haven't hit the like icon yet, do us a favor and hit it. Just below the video, you will find the like icon. Or if you're watching on a television, you have to go into the settings, which is a little bit more complicated, but with the old remote control, the old mando, as they call it here in Spain, you'll be able to find it. People that have supported the channel in recent times, whether it's by buying me a coffee, whether it's on the super thanks or super chat option here on YouTube, longer-term supporters on Patreon, thank you very much for that support. Greatly appreciated. I can't stress how important the support is. And whenever somebody buys me a coffee, it makes my day. I'm going to be honest. It makes my day. As John did recently, I think just before we came on the live stream tonight. John, valued member, of course, of the channel too, bought me a coffee. Thanks, John. I'll buy it tomorrow. And channel members of this YouTube channel, thank you very much for that support as well. People that support the channel every month, as do the Patreons, of course. Thank you very much again for that support. Now, I'm going to go into the live chat, if I can work it out. Bit of a mix-up with the old buttons here. Super chat has come through from Al. Enjoy a meal, Stu. Thanks for that, Al. £10. I reckon that'd buy me with the... What's the current exchange rate? That would probably get me a menu del dia on Tuesday, which I could record. Thanks, Al, for that. Great. I enjoy doing the food videos, I will say. Once you get over the issue of people looking at you all the time because you've got a camera on your table. Not everyone notices, but some people do. But nowadays, it's getting more common, this type of stuff, I think. Barbara, back in Spain from the cruise around the Caribbean or the Caribbean, however you pronounce that word, watching Alcaraz in the ATP final. Sinner has just won the first set. Fingers crossed for Alcaraz to win. Is he world number one at the moment? Alcaraz, he could be. Good to see you, Barbara. Donna's in the chat. Congratulations to the Irish team for qualifying against the odds for the World Cup qualifiers. Lesson: never give up. Thanks, John. I saw, I think, some highlights of this game on YouTube this afternoon. I think the same guy scored 2 goals. Parrot was his name. Like the bird, Parrot. And a good player, I will say. And all over the Portuguese, if that's the same game. I'm not sure. But I did see that that was the game that was on the other day. And Ronaldo got a red card for hitting someone in the back. What else we got going on here? Dirk, is this? Yeah, saying value member, of course, here. Out of curiosity, how many living here in Spain speak Spanish? And at what level? Thanks for that, Dur. Also saying, hello, all that rain down south in Asturias is less rainy than usual. Loving it, but you can tell the locals are noticing things are not what they are supposed to be. Thank you very much for that, Dur. Yep. Yeah, raining down south, not as much in the north. Yeah, everything seems to be a little bit upside down, I think, but I think the winters are usually a lot wetter than down south, that is for sure. Sani coming in. The weather is definitely on the turn. I'm sorry I didn't get to answer the question on do I know Rose from Basingstoke. What's the surname? Somebody was asking that question the other day. Jay saying, congrats on the 100,000 subscriber milestone. I remember when you had 50k. Yeah, Jay, the milestones are here on YouTube, normally measured in subscribers. It's an important, thing for a lot of channels, I suppose, subscriber counts, but not the most important metric, I don't think. Of course, the bigger the channel, the more people are going to watch your videos, we imagine. But just ticking away. Takes a long time to get anywhere on this platform, I will say, especially when you've got content like mine. High Flyer, who bought me a coffee, John. Getting colder in the UK. Have a great week. Thanks for that, John. You have a great one too. Jay also saying that mostly sunny midday here with some clouds in the afternoon in Peñíscola in Castellón. Thanks, Jay, for that. Al coming in from El Puerto, raining there. Went to a flamenco performance this afternoon. Olé, enjoyed it, says Al. Stephen back in the UK, watching from North London, getting colder there. Stephen also went through Alicante Airport last week. Not too much bother with the new biometrics process. It's early days getting everyone scanned in. Maybe Stephen was lucky. Maybe. Hike Ranger is coming in from South Tenerife, Los Cristianos to be exact. Good to see you, Hike. Enjoying your time in Spain again, I imagine. A valued member, of course, is Hike Ranger. Andrew coming in from Amariña, up there in the north of Spain, I should say. Grey day today. Coast of Light Living, it's definitely grumpy in Spain tonight. Not sure what that comment's about. Definitely grumpy in Spain tonight. You referring to me? Coast of Light Living? Loy coming in from Frigiliana, was even more beautiful. Left the stormy weather again. My trip last 2 weeks were amazing. We'll send some pics. Loy, thanks Loy for that. Valued member, of course. I will wait for those pics of your travels around Spain. Al saying that the storms in El Puerto, not so bad, though very wet. Raymond coming in from Bogota, Colombia. Elections in Chile today. A choice between the hard left and the hard right. Whatever happened to the centre in world politics? Good question, Raymond. What happened to the centre? Probably the centre has not lived up to people's expectations, I suppose. So people go looking for the harder positions in politics, like in Chile there. Hard left or hard right, you choose. Stephen, valued member, coming in from England, I think, today. Managing the live stream. Looks, there's been some bad weather in Portugal. Not too bad in his area in Manilva. Still in Wales. There we go. Sorry, Wales. I might have said England, but it's Wales. Not so bad in the north. Cheers. Thanks, Stephen, for that. Andres coming in from Torremolinos, down there in Malaga. Gigi's in the chat. Haven't seen Gigi for a while. Camino expert, of course. Surprise, Arizona. Rainy, but warm. Flash floods, but they pass quickly and leave the much-needed water. Yes, that is true. Alan, we saw the super chat before. First time he's caught the stream for a few weeks. Always catch up later, though. Hope you're well. Thanks, Al, for that. Yes, we're well. We're well for the time being. Bronny coming in from Chile, Wales, South Wales, UK. Terrible rain last Friday with Storm Claudia, but thankfully no flooding. Thank you for the information. Best wishes. Bronny, thanks for that. Oh, here we go. AB, cloud seeding to push net zero climate agenda. Jay, I bet $10 to a pinch of salt that supposed assassination attempt of Trump was a publicity stunt to try to gain sympathy for him. The right will do anything to gain and hold on to power so corrupt. Yes, don't know, Jay. It's all a mystery. I'm sure we'll find out maybe in 50 years' time when half of us are not here anymore. Don't know. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Chris is saying €3.30 for a dozen eggs a week ago, $3.10. So they've gone up 20 cents in a week. What else? Let's have a look here. Stephen saying currently 7 degrees in North Wales, feels like 5. Promising 0 by the end of the week. I'll be looking forward to getting back to Spain in January. I'm sure you will, Stephen, with those temperatures. Talking about cold, Mike's coming in from Vermilion, Canada. 5 below. 5 below. What else? Marcus is in the chat, valued member. The splendid news from the Canaries about controlling short-term rentals. He is looking forward to equally courageous governments throughout Spain. Thanks, Marcus, for that. I don't know if we'll see any other things similar to that. We might do. Billy saying the weather in Ireland is very bad. Looking forward to getting back to Spain. Billy, thanks for that. Excuse me, let me just cough here for a moment. 1 minute. Okay, back again. What else? Let's have a look. Marcus also saying, I love the rule that those in the short-term rental business need to be registered as self-employed. Let them start paying €300 Social Security every month and €1,000 a year on accountancy. Bravo, says Marcus. Thanks, Marcus, for that. I'm just controlling my size there. Larry coming in from Tathagona in La Palma, down there in the Canaries. Jay gets ecological eggs from Consume here in Castellon for $3.50. What's that for a dozen? Much better and healthier. Check the Yuka app to see various food items quality. Thanks, Jay, for the egg price update there. And the Yuka app, I will say, comes in handy for me at least. I like to check a lot of things on the old Yuka app. Pinecone coming in from Detroit. Okay, biometric scanning is okay. That's wonderful. There we go. Diffie coming in from Toronto. 5 below there as well. Wind chill of 10 below. Colder than Stu's wife saying her wedding vows. Bit of comedy thrown in there by Diffie. And Chris is saying next week we're dropping from 0 to 6. Or would that be from 6 to 0? I'm not sure. In Salah. Thanks, Chrissy, for that. Yes, it's going to get cold, I will say. I reckon around the majority of Spain it will start to get cold. Hasn't been too bad up until now. But of course, as we start going into the winter months, it'll get chilly. On that note, I'm going to wrap the live stream up. Back again next Tuesday with another one. Hope to see you then. Until that date, hasta luego, hasta entonces. Have a great start to the week. Bye-bye and adios.